Good evening, good evening, good evening. Let's see here, reselling world. Lots to talk about today. We're going to get into the content first on shipping because I've got a piece of paper here with a bunch of questions that we've compiled over just the last 7 days that were repeat questions about shipping. Let's just hammer right into here. We'll shout out some names and stuff in just a minute here. I always get dinged from people for not getting to the topic right off, and I'll try to get as many questions tonight as I can. The first thing, I personally charge for shipping for 99.9999% of every single thing we sell. I only recommend that if you're selling antiques and collectibles genre, not like vintage video games. Those you pretty much have to follow the stream of what everybody else is doing. Again, this is one of the biggest questions I hear all the time. Should I do free shipping or not? When I sold clothing, we did free shipping. When I sold books, tons of books, free shipping. Media mail's cheap, so you're not losing much on it anyway. Add it into the cost if that's what you need to do. The items that need free shipping are based on the majority of people selling items in those categories with free shipping. If you're the one person out that's trying to get top dollar and you're charging shipping on top of it in items that they can get anywhere else, they're just going to go somewhere else. So that's how I look at it. If the items are accessible somewhere else readily, I'm just going to go ahead and do whatever the mainstream, the majority of the folks are doing. With collectibles and vintage and antiques and stuff, it's totally different. If you're selling a $200 item, no one has a problem with spending $395 for tracked shipping. It just doesn't happen. I just mailed out a card today, $195, and track shipping, everybody's fine with. Didn't care. I even put insurance on it. Guy said, go ahead, throw it in there. He was fine. Whatever it took to get the card to him. It's a collectible versus just something you have to have or you just kind of want. So the diehard collectors always don't have a problem with it. I've never had a complaint. Maybe for a cheaper item you might. If you're selling mostly lower value items, you might have an issue. If you're selling something for $10, you take an offer for $8, and then you've got $4 shipping in it. That's 33% of the value of the whole sale is tied up in your shipping. Sometimes they still do that, but that's my take on it. Judge it by the category items you're selling specifically. Judge it by how many others are selling those very same items. If 50 people were selling the same items as me, I'd have to do drastically different form of business. I'd have to. There'd just be no other way around it. But the majority of what I sell, luckily, are one or two on, counting me, that would be on all of eBay and most other sites at the same time. That's just the way it works with the categories we play in. Some items, I'm the only one, so it doesn't matter to me at all, because if they want it, they got to get it from me. And then again, that's the plus on it. If you don't have items like that, your items are $15, $20 items, and you can find 10, 15, 20 other sellers selling the same items, I'd probably do free shipping myself right now if that's the what I was up against, just to stand out. And in those cases, you'd want your feedback and your eBay rating to be as high as it could be. Top rated seller plus, so you'd get the business over somebody else who had a 96, a 97, 98.5, or whatever the case may be. I'm not trying to criticize somebody if their feedback's not 100. That's not the point. Just as a buyer who's been ripped off for years on stuff, I buy if I know I'm going to be able to get a refund if it's a scam or I don't get what I'm supposed to get or any of that kind of stuff. And it happens far too often, especially with like NOS brand new clothing off of even Amazon. My wife's constantly running into issues with that. I bought counterfeit shoes off of Amazon. It wasn't Amazon's fault. Even the company who the shoe brand is couldn't tell me 100% at first whether they were real or not. They changed the country of origin even by adding a new sticker over some of it. So it was all sketchy all the way around. Anyway, so I'm cautious on all that kind of stuff on that. Let me make a little note and mark that one off. The discount. Through eBay, every seller shipping through eBay gets a discount at the rates from the post office. Not only that, if you ship through eBay and don't go to the post office, the first class rate goes all the way up to 16 ounces instead of the 13 at the post office. So keep those thoughts in mind. I never go to the post office for anything unless for some reason the post office doesn't pick up my outgoing. We don't go there at all. I don't go there unless maybe there's a return and I have to go to a P.O. box or something. But I don't have to go while they're opened or not. Our P.O. boxes are accessible 24/7 at my branch. I don't know what everybody else's is, but I just go in the night. I don't care. I don't have to deal with people or anything else. If it's a big item, they usually put it in a big bin, a key in your mailbox, and then you go and get the package out of there. So you can sign up. You can renew it. Everything can be done online for the post office for that. Now here's another question that I have, because I sell items directly. I'll drop a link, or I'll tag somebody in a link to something that I create the link to. An item we 3D print or something I just mailed off the other day for a little tool thing. On those, if you're going to do those, I personally do PayPal. You still get a discount on shipping as well. Shipping through, PayPal Ship, I think it costs. You got to click on one of the little boxes there, and it takes you, you got to reaffirm your login. It'll take you to another spot. That's legit. That's how it's supposed to work, because it's a secondary service tied into PayPal. I use PayPal all the time. I know a lot of people, I don't even touch it anymore because of eBay and Aiden and all, and you know, the payment processing and all. But I use it for a lot of things, truthfully. I've always loved PayPal because I've never been screwed through any dealings. Yeah, they locked our account once or twice, once for buying buttons, and another time for, they thought it was a fraudulent activity. Fine, I'm fine with both of those issues, I guess, at this point. I'm not mad. They fixed it with a phone call, and on we go. But with that, you can actually create a link. I don't get anything from telling you this, but you can create a link in PayPal for an item. You create it. This is beyond an invoice. This isn't just sending an invoice. You can do it for free, and I think it's like 30 items you can do it for at a time. So if you run out of something, you just drop one off, create a new link, and you can have 30, I think is what it used to be, 30. And I drop a link for those, and they pay through it. It's all shipped out through PayPal. So I just click ship this item, basically the little link there, ship, and that takes me to the little shipping dock for PayPal. I get the discount just like I would on eBay for first class shipping also. Pirate ship. I've been asked many times on pirate ship. I do have a pirate ship. You can do the cubic. You got to click to. The biggest question I get on pirate ship is, why don't I see media on there? Media mail you don't get a discount for no matter where you go, just FYI. So it doesn't necessarily matter, but you've on the right side, I think it is, on the column, I think you got to click see more, see all. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've got it all set up, but there's an option you have to click to get media mail, or there was one last time I had to do a media mail on there. Anyway, it's just a matter of clicking a few buttons, and you can have media mail through pirate ship. Truthfully, I just usually ship through PayPal because everything's set up, and I've got all kinds of other options on PayPal besides just doing shipments. And again, I'm not trying to push PayPal specifically for any reason. I'm just trying to tell you that there's a difference. There's nothing wrong with pirate ship. It imports and all that kind of stuff, and nothing at all wrong with pirate ship at all. I have it. I've used it. Never had an issue whatsoever. Some of the rates are pretty darn good. There's a few rates and a few things that might even be a little cheaper there than anywhere else. I'm going to put it out there. I charge for shipping, so I try to give the cheapest rate. I do not pass on my shipping discount, which is where this started at, to my buyers. So the buyer who pays shipping to me pays the exact price they would pay at the post office. I get the discount. I keep the discount. It covers part of my supplies. I've done it that way for years. If someone buys internationally from us, there is a 50-cent handling fee for any international buyer. Helps to offset a little more of the costs for the international, or for the, international currency, whatever the thing is. There's whatever that fee is they want to call it. So that's a difference that, again, we add on to that. And it's only for overseas shipping. Another shipping thing that we do. If there's an option to ship straight to somebody, or use eBay's global, the new global, the cheaper, good global program, I usually just use eBay's program every time. It does ship straight to them, kind of, but it goes through eBay. The minute, again, just like the old version, the minute it gets to the International Shipping Center, I think Chicago is where ours still goes to, wherever yours goes, so I don't know, maybe everybody else's goes to Chicago. The minute it gets there and they scan it in, if something happens, like it gets lost, doesn't get delivered, or anything else, eBay eats it on it. The service does how it works. I've used it enough. A couple of occasions we've used like that ship insurance extra on a couple of those. There is a fee for it. you'll lose a little bit of your profit. You get the money back for the item sale price, less any fee. So at the end of the day, even the few in all these years that we've had to collect on through eBay's global shipping programs, we lost $15. I don't know. It wasn't a whole bunch. I still had a profit, and everything was cleared off. It didn't ding my account. They took care of it, and I think even like 2 months later, the item came back to me. So I got the money back, and I got the item. Or I got to keep the most of the money and the item. I planning it that way. It just happened. Once the deal's done, eBay's not going to come back and take the money back out of you or ask for the item back. They're the ones who delivered it back to me. I wasn't trying to rip anybody off, but that did happen. So, in all honesty, if you're going to ship internationally, which everybody wants to know internationally, that's how I do it. I use eBay's new setup with the international option, first class. I don't ship overseas anything over 4 pounds ever. If it's over the first class international, which is 2 pounds, it goes through priority, global priority. I don't care what it costs. If they want it bad enough, they're going to have to pay that amount for it. There's a few times like we've sent multi-$1,000 45 records to England and in a few other places. Those went registered first class with everything we could have had on them at the time. They tape them up in front of you and all that kind of stuff, and they go in the separate locked bags and international registered. So that's the only other thing we've ever used. Now I can't remember the current. If you're in my Patreon group or you're in YouTube membership here, I did post a screenshot, I believe, on maybe both of those on how our my setup is for my shipping. I literally took a screenshot of our shipping policy, our main default one. I do not ship to Germany anymore. Italy, I think we blocked off as well. I think that's the other one I blocked off. I literally, though, have a big, huge list of all the countries we do not ship to. And that would limit them from being able to purchase from us even through the global shipping program as well. It's supposed to, I should say. That's really about the biggest takeaways on the international options. 4 pounds is the limit on certain services, and that's why I don't ship anything out of this country over 4 pounds. It's about the most I would want to lose if for some reason some weird shipping option happened. And again, if I could ship that through eBay's global 4 pound up to 4 pounds, even as per, I'd still ship it through the global, whatever the case. If that option is available, I'd still use eBay, again, because you're covered. I've used the global shipping program, the old version, since they had it, probably 8 or 10 years. And I've never been screwed on that program, ever. Again, I'm not one to defend eBay if they did something wrong, but I've never, ever, ever, ever been screwed up on over any of the global shipping programs that I can remember. At the end of the day, it may have taken a while, but I did get everything settled to my satisfaction. Yeah, sure, I would have loved to have that $15 fee or $13, whatever it was. But again, I'm happy. I still made a good profit on the item because of our profit margin. So again, to stick up for eBay on that behalf, I've never been screwed on the global shipping. Some of the buyers now, it's not the best ordeal for them. The only thing I would say is the global shipping covers the VAT. And I know a lot of people constantly are hitting us up trying to avoid paying like an import fee in England. If it's over $20, they have to pay, percentage of it. And today I had one. I had somebody today asking about that. I always say the same thing. I don't violate the rules. If somebody asks you to ship something, this question is one of my questions on the paper. If somebody asks you to ship something in a regular envelope to another country, eBay can tell where that person bought from. And since there's access to eBay, officially announced on something they've announced, access to eBay from government agencies and international, agencies as well, they can see if you're shipping something overseas without the proper documentation. If it's merchandise, it's supposed to be declared going out of this country and declared going into any other country. That's U.S. law as far as I read it. I've got a full-fledged book printed version of the import-export postal regulation. You can download a copy if you want to from the post office. I've looked through it very extensively. We've sold overseas for 15, 20 years, so I've dealt with it as a business. So if you do a lot of business like that, I would honestly recommend you doing the same thing. Look at the rules. I don't ship. Even if I lose the sale, I'm never ever gonna, even for $100 or something, I would never do it, just because I don't want to risk my business. Yeah, everybody says, it's a very limited risk. They're never gonna look at it. That one chance is what would happen to us. If everybody on the road was speeding and I said, well, I'm going to go do it, I would be the first one pulled over, it feels like some days. You know, I'm sure a lot of people know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sure it's not really that way, but that's how it feels some days. So, you know, I'm not going to do it. It's not worth it. Who cares? It's one sale here or something. You know, don't violate any of the rules. I don't ship anything in there. There is a letter rate, if you're unaware, on PayPal to go to Canada, and just an envelope for like $2 with all the stuff attached. But it's only for documents, and people do violate that rule to get a postcard or something sent to Canada for like $3. I know they're doing it because I got people all the time say, well, no, they did it for this way. And I'm like, it's a document only. You're illegally using a service that's not available for a piece of merchandise. So don't do that one either. And I say that too, even if you don't have a problem with doing that, they can see. Everything is open to agencies and stuff through eBay if you're violating laws and rules. So, you know, and even if they weren't open, it would be documented that you're violating a rule. So why would you want to do it in the first place? Hopefully you wouldn't want to do it anyway, but why would you want to violate a rule just to do that? We got some more. I've got a few more, and then we're going to talk about some other things. Well, thank you again, Auction Monkey. I honestly and sincerely thank you for that kind super chat. Yeah, I almost didn't even see it. I'm not up usually on looking at those, but I thank you very kindly. Very, very, very kind of you. And Nova Crow's Nest, thank you for the membership as well. I do appreciate that. Shipping, more comments on shipping. Now, I was thinking about, I'll just ship something here on live, but I've got videos that literally show the steps, show literally on the screen in textual, the dimensions of the cardboard I use, everything. I do have a list, I think, down here of all the supplies I use. The one that I get all the time are the 11 by 16 bags that I use. I had 2 people in the last 2 days ask me about those bags that I show. They fit the large format sheet music is what I use those for. If this question's asked, because I do sell records, if you want sleeves for LPs, I buy LP specific sleeves, 1 mil, the real thin ones, just enough to protect it. If they want to go ahead and spend the extra few cents to get the deluxe 2 mil or 3 mil sleeve, that's on them. I don't guarantee it's going to have that kind of sleeve when I send it out. Never had a problem, never had a complaint, never had an issue. If you buy them at $1,000 a time, shipping supplies, the poly bags, you can get them much cheaper. 22 cents to maybe 28 cents a piece if you buy 1 mil. They're 12.1, I think, by 12.1, so it gives you a 0.1 flap over, and you can just tape that on the LP. 45 sleeves, I use the same 1 mil 11 by 16 poly bags. There is a link down there if you're interested, I think. I'm terrible on links. I know I should probably put more links, but I don't promote that kind of stuff very often. And anyway, point being on that is buy them in bulk. Whatever you're going to do to ship your items, I buy it in bulk. 5,000, 10,000. If I have to, something I don't sell a ton of, but I'm eventually in a year or so going to sell, I buy 1,000 of them. Whatever it takes to lower the cost to keep your shipping costs down. Again, that's why I keep the discount that we get for shipping, and I charge the buyer. There's a little radio button. All you gotta do is click the button, and you get to keep the discount, the difference. Chances are it's already set up for you to keep the discount, but some people go ahead and pass it on to the buyer. I'm taking the time. I'm taking my materials, which aren't billed any other way, to my buyer. My items for the item, the price that they buy it for. Shipping supplies, again, if I, like a comic book, sometimes I don't include boards unless it states that in there. So most of the time you're not going to get a top loader or Mylar or anything else like that for a comic book. It won't even be boarded and acid free when we do it either, unless it states it. I've got some, obviously. If it's slabbed, obviously it's slabbed, but again, supplies, all that's money out of your pocket. So limit the amount of money you have to spend on any of that stuff. Again, keep the discount if you're comfortable with that. I don't have any problem with it, because if they want to check, they can take that package down to the post, whatever it is, and see what it would cost to send that package by them. And the minute they go down there, they're going to see it's the exact amount that they paid, because I do calculated shipping. Now, I've had some conversations. I wanted to address this a little bit here. The pirate ship was a big question I've had many times. Again, I'll reiterate, I have a pirate ship. There's nothing at all whatsoever wrong with pirate ship. It works perfectly fine. And in some cases, it's cheaper than anywhere else. Okay? You can do any form, medium mails there, all that stuff's there. Never ever had a problem with pirate ships. Same thing with PayPal. Same thing with PayPal. But I'm just a PayPal person because there's a lot of other things you can do on PayPal. So, you know, I do other businesses besides this, and PayPal comes in very handy. You know, I like being able to send invoices. I like being able to create a post and be able to drop a link to a specific item or a video showing something that we happen to get, and boom. I don't do it very often, and I only do it if I think it's seriously helpful and useful. You could probably count on both hands all the times I've ever done that. Again, I'm not a big promoter. Again, that's just me, but no problem if somebody else is. With combined shipping was an issue. Let me get the cart part out of the way first. Now, I've had this issue with the cart for years. The cart doesn't work very well for us. It doesn't. If I do set up rules for combined shipping, it doesn't work most of the time correctly. And part of the reason, and I'm going to put this out there because I just literally talked to somebody about this. Part of the reason is if let's say you've got 3 different items that you're shipping out, if they were bought separately, and somebody buys all 3 of those items, your weight, again, if you're doing calculated, your weight is for all the shipping supplies, materials, and everything for each one of those 3 items. And if you set it up where it adds a few cents for each one that they buy, like a quarter if it's a piece of paper or whatever, you've got shipping weight that's not going to be in the final ship. If I'm shipping, like, let's say 3 postcards, we'll say $4 average first class shipping rate, 6x9 poly, one strip is 1/16 of a 12 cubed box is what wraps around that. A top loader poly sleeve isn't wrapped around the item itself. It's all taped shut, and boom, that goes off in the mail. So I've got 6 cents or whatever into supplies. Cardboard, probably another 12, not even that. It's probably another 4 cents. So about 10 cents maybe into it. Again, I keep the discount. When those 3 though go together, it's adding up all of that supplies, or if you've got to figure it in, at least it adds up all the weight. The postcard itself weighs 0.25 or whatever, 0.2. The rest is just in the cardboard. So I'm not using the cardboard. So it still keeps that. It says 9 ounces is the gist of it. So if I've got 3 packages that weigh 3 ounces apiece, when it combines them, the combined shipping cost is for 9 ounces. So there's always some playing around you got to do, even if it's not just changing the weight when you're doing your final bulk shipping from eBay or wherever you happen to be shipping from. When you're doing bulk shipping, make sure you alter the weight, because at the end of the day, let's say you gave them a refund. This has happened, so that's why I'm bringing this up. You may not realize that instead of it saying 3 ounces, which it should because you hit combine the shipping on eBay at the top of bulk shipping, that it still says 9 ounces. When you go to pay and purchase those, if you don't change that, you just got billed for 9 ounces of shipping when your package was only 3. So that's the other thing. Combined shipping for us is much easier to do if they pay after they've purchased the items altogether, not like a cart checkout. If someone checks out through the cart and they're expecting to get a best offer, accept an offer, the cart does not accept offers. All it does is purchase the items at the listed price of the item. It does not accept the offer for the buyer. So I've gotten into that where I've had actually buyers mad at me over that issue, and I said, I don't control the cart. The cart does not accept the offer. You can put whatever you want in the cart, but when you check out with the cart, you're not accepting an offer. So I've ran into that deal. Unless they, in the last 2 weeks or something, eBay's added some new feature where you can put, a check mark, but it's not there ever that I've ever seen. So again, I just want to put that out there. If you're combining, like let's say someone bought 5 items from you, you've already refunded the difference. I always do, whether they ask or not. To combine those after they paid, just ship one single item for the exact weight of them all shipped together, cut and paste the tracking number to the other 4 items, and the other 4 items are instantly combined with that one item. All you got to do is have the tracking number match for those. It has to be done within 24 hours of that item being shipped. So I would never ever wait. I would immediately go ahead, and when you actually print off your slip, you can cut and paste online just right off the bat. that tracking number. If you don't, you can just scan it if you want. Use your little book scanner or whatever. But you can cut and paste the tracking number easily and just pop, 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 copy, paste, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, and off you go on all of the ones that you need to add tracking to. You highlight them on eBay in the sold tab. You highlight the 4, and you can add it. It'll bring up a screen that just has those 4, and then a spot to put the type of shipping service used, USPS, and then the tracking number, and then I cut and paste all the way down, and that's it. That's how you combine shipping once they've paid for it. I was actually talking with somebody else on this in the past. I personally think, and so does several other folks, as I've asked around now, I don't want to call it a name because I didn't tell him I'd mention his name, but last summer I got into a conversation with eBay about this. I've told people that I do not require immediate payment on anything. There's 2 spots on eBay. This kind of directly relates to shipping, so I just want to discuss this because this was asked about it, combined shipping and all that stuff. There are 2 spots where you can turn off the require immediate payment. One is for buy it nows, direct buy it nows, and one is for best offers. You have to uncheck both of those so that, both options are not collecting immediately. But even when you do, I've told people just go ahead and purchase it, but not pay. I don't know how many times. So has several other people now. I asked around after someone hit me up, and I responded that I already knew about this, and I already talked to eBay, and they act dumb. So I don't know, but either it's intentional to make sure they get the money and to lower the amount of unpaid cases or what. But every single time I tell them you can just back out, I don't require immediate shipping, eBay won't allow them. It automatically forces them with the only option to pay for the items. It's the only option they have. So there is no, and I'm asking, next time it happens, I'm going to ask, maybe I'll even, try and get a friend to buy something, legitimately buy something, just so I can see the screen, and I'll whatever, we'll figure it out later, or I'll buy something from him in replacement for it. Just so I can see if I can get a screenshot of what it states. I can't say for sure, but I personally would say that eBay's turned it off. The option to do it that way, because again, that's the way I usually would do it until last summer when this started happening. So I would just say don't pay, and they could back out before it, purchase it, but right before they would go buy, they'd just escape and back out. And then it would still have purchased the item but not paid for it, and then they can just request a total. The only way I see it is through best offers and, offer a penny or whatever they want to do. And most of the time what does happen is they just go ahead and purchase the item, pay for shipping for sometimes 2 different items, and then I have to go back and I just refund it. I always keep the fees that I would pay. I think it's 30 cents we always deduct when that happens to cover that separate bill cost per eBay, the 30 cents it was. Again, I'm just recouping my loss. I didn't do anything wrong. I don't think that's overstepping it. I don't think that's abusing or anything else like that. I'm not making a dime off of me doing that. I'm just recouping a cost from 2 separate purchases or 3 separate purchases or whatever the case may be. If they purchase them not together, it's individual purchases, individual shipping on each one of those. So you'll have to go back in and refund. And that's all I would just do. I wouldn't cancel the order to combine. I've had people tell me they've canceled an order, like in the first example, when someone bought 5 items. They didn't know how to combine them. So they canceled a bunch of them and grouped them together, which was more work for them as well as more work for the buyer. I literally just cut and paste the tracking number to the other 4 items, and they all ship together via eBay. It looks like it's one combined shipment. And that's it. That's all you got to worry about. You don't have to come in and turn it into a combined order. All you're worrying about is combining the shipping. And the tracking, if one shows up, they all show up. And they all show up as delivered because they all have the same tracked number on it. And that's what really matters. There's no big, huge thing you have to do when they pay separately. You just, again, cut and paste the tracking number or type it in, whatever you want to do. Whatever you have the ability to do. Either way, it gets you the same results. And you don't even have to ship off eBay. You can just ship off, off of eBay if you get a better discount through Pirate Ship. Import the numbers or whatever you want to do, or cut and paste them. And then you can combine them that way too. As long as the tracking number is all the same for those items, they can just track them the exact same way on eBay, even if you didn't physically create a combined purchase, statement on eBay's sold item list. It doesn't matter. Don't make it any harder than you have to. Keep it simple. Stupid was always, KISS is what I always would say on that. That's my truthful opinion. That's the way I've done that for years on that. If eBay isn't offering the ability to do it, it just means I got a refund, keep the 30 cents or whatever the case may be. When there's a legitimate reason to put an extra cost in, I don't have any problem because I can explain that to the buyer and why that cost is there. And I've had to do that a few times. No one's ever been mad or nothing, but I had somebody trying to get me to ship something, for just $1 or $2. I can't remember. I think it was a $2 shipment. They said, you obviously have money added into the shipping to make a few extra bucks. And I go, no, I don't. It's calculated shipping. It was a U.S. one. There was no extra fee, no nothing. I don't add anything, and I don't try to make money off of the shipping part. That's part of the reason why eBay adds a fee to the shipping as well, too. People used to take advantage. They'd put the item for $2, but the shipping at $1,000 because the fees were so much different for the shipping costs versus the actual item. And that's where that started. I remember seeing those. It used to be left and right. Like 10, 15 years ago, you'd see listings for like $1 or $2, but with some horrendous shipping. They were trying to avoid the fees. So that's what ruined that to start. I know they'd probably do it now because of processing services, but those are the main comments and questions on shipping. If you want to see how I shipped it, just type in my playlist, the how-to playlist, Ultimate Shipping Guide, or Ultimate Shipping, just those 2 words, and it'll be like the first one that pops up. It's an old video, but it shows every step of the way, even how to prepare the cardboard I use to ship any type of media item whatsoever. And any of the items I'm showing in there, I ship non-media items, comic books, the same way. I ship them first class, of course, 13 ounces or 8, depending on what kind of it is. But the point being, the same methods shown in that I use for anything. Breakables, I ship the same way I ship the 78s in the videos. Any kind of paper, photos, I ship the same way as sheet music in that video. Smalls, buttons. I've got videos on the buttons and stuff, and the pins and any jewelry pieces are all shipped the same way. Model cars, action figures, all shipped the same way. It's just the cardboard wrapped around it. I don't have to go through a bunch of boxes. I can ship 16 items out using good thick multi-layer cardboard for 16 items for it's 79 cents right now total for all 16 items for the box, the cardboard I have to buy. One more question. Here's the last one. I forgot about this one. Okay. Somebody asked about cardboard and stuff, buying boxes to cut up and all this stuff. I cut up boxes, or somebody here does. One of the kids usually does. But the point being, if boxes themselves are too expensive, and most of what you're going to be using the cardboard for is to cut up and just wrap around paper and smalls and toys and Legos or whatever you're doing, just buy sheets of cardboard. Go to your local box manufacturer. I've got 4 decent ones, 5 kind of. The 5th one's a little farther away. It's in Michigan, but there's 2 within about 6 miles from me that will just sell me 48 inches, 56 inches, 60-inch square, just sheets of cardboard. Far cheaper than a box any day of the week. You're getting like 2 for the price of 1. Of a box, because it's not formed, it's not cut, there's no glue added, it hasn't went through a machine, it's just cut, and those boxes would then, those square chunks would then be cut into a box. It's just same principle as buying end cuts. End cuts. What is an end cut? An end cut is bubble wrap, 500, 1,000 feet of it, about 18 inches wide for about $15 for 1,000 feet of that. Maybe 25 depending on who you are and where you go. But the box manufacturers, the ones we got here, they do it everywhere. They produce custom bubble wrap material, whether it's a impulse sealed slide-in bubble wrap bag, which I'm sure you've seen for DVDs, video games. You can buy them by the 1,000 if you want. They make them for poly bags. They'll actually roll out matching poly material, and then they'll make bubble wrap bags specifically for some order, maybe thousands of them at a time. The bubble wrap is cut to meet the needs of that production run. At the end of the day, they're left with Bubble wrap comes in these like 8-foot long. I've seen them all. I've been in their place. The end cuts are big enough to make like a huge furniture. I only could fit 2 of them in a big, huge van. That they're huge. I mean, it might be. It's a lot of bubble wrap, but uncut they're huge. So they cut these things to match it, and at the end of the day, they've got the end cut off of this massive roll of bubble wrap. It's the cheapest bubble wrap you will ever get in the world. It'll cut every cost you've ever had buying bubble wrap from anywhere else, unless you're getting it secondhand used for pennies on the dollar. But end cuts is the cheapest way you can ever get bubble wrap in the world. Anybody telling you that there's some other cheaper way, I would be shocked as can be, because I've never found it. Go to your local manufacturer. Now, obviously, if your local ones in certain areas, other people like me might have already scoped them all out, but most of them will be happy to supply it, again, if they're cutting bubble wrap. So ask if they've got bubble wrap end cuts, ENDCUTS, end cuts. So, and that's the secret to getting cheap bubble wrap. I don't dumpster dive for cardboard. Nothing wrong with it if that's what we want to do, but it would take me so much time, it would be a waste of time. I go through hundreds of boxes, all the same size, because we cut them and do other things with them. I figured out a universal box that ships out probably 95% of everything we sell. One size of box, so I can buy it in bulk as opposed to buying 50 of this kind of box, 50 of this size of box. I've seen and been in people's shipping areas, and they have like 10 or 15 different sizes of boxes. I've got a few sizes, but literally I figured out one that will do everything for us in so many different ways, and that's the one we stuck with. So I can buy more of them to get the cost down, more so than buying a ton of different size boxes, if that makes any sense. The more you buy of shipping supplies, the cheaper they are. When I buy a postcard sleeve, 5, 10, 15, if 25,000 at a time buying it was going to get me the cheapest rate, I would buy it. We sell a ton of of sleeves, or a ton of postcard size trade cards and things. Jewelry goes into there. Buttons go in their own postcard sleeve just because it's easier. They're cheaper than the little Ziploc baggies that I store them in prior to sale, where they sit in locations so I can track them down super easy. So again, methodology for any of the stuff that you're doing is key and essential. If you want to keep your costs down, don't give out the discount. Charge for shipping when you're able to get away with charging for shipping. If it's flooded category, you can't, and I would never recommend it. If you want to make the sale, you're going to have to follow suit and give the best deal that there is out there. For collectibles and vintage, you don't have to give the best deal. You have to give what's comfortable to you. You could be higher than somebody else, but if you do it right, you'll get more than the other sellers. Your reputation, your feedback, how you ship out. When someone gets something from me, I've had people complain, not mad or nothing, they still ended up buying and paying it, about, I'm paying all this for shipping, but when they get it and they see how it's wrapped, that it's not going to get damaged, it's waterproof, it's in a poly bag, you can't rip it open, it's protected very well the way we wrap it. And we ship to businesses, I ship to museums, I ship to universities, other artists who do stuff with some of the items, and crafters and stuff, and I treat the items, everything I ship out, they're all sealed, everything gets in cardboard, nothing goes in a poly bag without cardboard around it, even if that poly bag was bubble wrapped. Even if it's a piece of clothing, even if it's a book, it's being completely covered with cardboard. Everything, every single thing I ship. Because someone could stab the package. It could get messed up in a machine or whatever the case. If it's flexible, sometimes that's not good for it. Running through the systems, the machines at the UPS or at the Postal Service. I treat everything like it's some heirloom, family heirloom going to that person's family. Take it seriously. Don't skimp and save. Don't try to save a few bucks on something. Another thing here, this I didn't write down, but this was asked too. Sometimes you mess up on the shipping cost. Sometimes you didn't add up enough in there, and at the end of the day, you just guesstimated it. And 2 ounces, an ounce could put you from like a reasonable amount of shipping to $40 more if it's in certain price, weight-wise in certain areas. What do I do when that happens? Well, it doesn't happen because I weigh everything out ahead of time, including package material that I would use on the item, even if I don't technically wrap it. Or we have a standard fee for, we know weight-wise, and a fee for certain items. Once you've shipped 100 of something, hopefully you remember the price on it. If I mess up, though, I cover the loss on it. I don't ever ask anybody for more money. The other day there was a button went out. It sold for like 15 bucks. If I don't know how it sold that way, it had to be someone wasn't paying enough attention. Our fault. It was definitely legit through eBay's system. Somewhere down the line, something got slipped up. It should have sold for at least 140 bucks. I didn't cancel it. It's our fault. Sure, I could have canceled it. I know a lot of people would do that. Canceled it, relisted it. Problem with the buyer's address they would use, even though that wasn't true, and just relisted it trying to get the higher money. We made a mistake. The buyer didn't make a mistake. They did everything fine. They left nice feedback. Of course, they got a good deal, but we made the mistake. If somebody was paying more attention, that wouldn't have happened, and lesson learned. Don't let it happen again. That's end of story. So if you make a mistake, and it's giving the buyer more of a benefit, more of a boost, more value, whatever, that's on you. Don't ever. I didn't even tell the buyer. I didn't even say, hey, we messed up. It shouldn't have went for that. He didn't do anything wrong. It was my fault. I run the business. It's my fault. Somewhere down the line, something slipped. Someone missed it, and we lost a few bucks. I mean, I don't have anything into it, so, I made $12. I didn't lose, but still, could have been more money. And I never, ever grudge against anything that if that happens, if somebody else does it, I never, ever worry about it. End of story, it's done. I'm putting it out there because there's people who are mad that they sold something too cheap. They put a cheap price on it, sold really quick. They found out later that it was worth $1,000 and they sold it for 50. I've done that years ago. Don't sweat it. It's going to happen once in a blue moon. It could happen to anybody. It's happened to us back in the day too. If I don't know, I usually don't list it, or I reach out to one of the auction houses and ask them if they would be interested. If they're not interested, I know it's not worth a fortune right off the bat, and then I just list it myself. Just keep those thoughts in mind. Your reputation, how you handle things, is key and super important. I had a cautious buyer the other day. I was worried they were going to leave bad feedback. Is like 95% of what it shows they have left was all like either neutral or negative over little nitpicky things. And I read what the responses were, and luckily they were happy with the purchase. Nothing was wrong with anything we did, but I always worry about those types of seller or buyers, I should say, when all they leave mostly is bad feedback. So, but anyway, I was very happy with that sale anyway. That's really about it on shipping issues that I've had the major question for. I'm sure there's probably I could put together another list that would fill an entire page about other questions, but let's holler out some folks who are, hey, Mike, already Mike in the house. First one, Happy New Year to you as well. We have been, and I've talked about this before, we have been looking for property and some land with a building on it. Well, we actually are right in the process of we're pre-approved. Everything's fine. We can get something and whatever we want, but we're in the process of going to put an order on this. Now this property it's acreage, and it's got a almost 1,500 square foot building on the property, all separate, all on its own, with big, huge bay doors and reinforced concrete. I would say the person who owned it probably had a semi or something maybe, but it's it's a huge. It's a nice thing. It's 20 feet tall, so we could split it into 2 floors if we wanted. But the the point is that's what we're looking for. We run into some snags though. The property said it included city water. Well, that's not true. We find out. Then they said the property was going to have it put in February. Not true. We find out. So we're really kind of a little bothered because we really like this place. It's perfect. Everything that we were looking for. It needs some work, but it'd have a big building. I could get pallets in. I could fit 50 pallets in this building if I really had to. It's big. It's more than I was hoping for. It's got a heat. It's just was literally had everything that we wanted. Now we're going over issues with this because it turns out that it's not even paid for. The township ran new pipes in 2019 down the street, but it would cost $10,000 to put in the meter in there. I confirmed that. I called the township waterworks to myself. So the lister isn't being exactly on. Then they claimed some space in there was livable space, which it's technically legally not. And so we're now a little perturbed because we write to the offer part, ready to go, and now we're in limbo again. We have a second choice, but this one was perfect. Just FYI, I've had a lot of people asking that question. Why I said we were waiting to the first of the year. Interest rates, we got a killer rate considering what the normal rate is and stuff. I've talked about this, and I'll go back to the names just a second. I've talked about why it's good to report every dime you make, get bank accounts, business accounts, keep separate accounts and stuff. You want to get in good with the bank. The bank just signed off on the whole deal. If we want it, it's ours, and all this other stuff, because we've been at a good standing with the bank. That's why it's important to report. That's why it's important to run it legit. That's why it's important not to try and save a few bucks in taxes and just do the right thing and report it all, because we're putting a third down in cash. But the point is that it was easy as pie, and they've helped us out every single time we've ever had any questions or wanted anything from them. Sure, here you go. I can't express enough. If you wouldn't have done that, or we wouldn't have done that, you're not going to be advancing your business to a certain point. You might need a pickup wagon or a truck or a van or a delivery vehicle, or you might want to do this, or you might be able to come up with some customizing furniture or whatever. I know people that do pretty much anything. There's somebody that we know that owns a big secondhand around. It's like 25,000. It's huge. It's like a warehouse size of basically not all just used furniture, but some of it's like from hotel overruns and things like that. And they've started off at the same level we were 10 years ago, and that's what they own now. All because of banking, and all because of taking it seriously, all because of doing the right thing, all because of reporting, having everything handled. You got to get to that point, of course, but start from the scratch and do it the right way to begin with. You know, I would rather be in this position than never to get the chance, even if this house turns out we want to pass on it because, you know, maybe it's in the county, it's out. So it's land. I mean, there's trees, there's chestnuts. I mean, it's a nice chunk. But again, we're not going to overpay. I'm not going to end up getting stuck. If I wouldn't have investigated, my real estate agent wasn't good, and she's the one who brought up looking into all this. She's the one who went out of the way. So of the first real estate agent I've really trusted. So it's really good to know that, you know, she pulled this out for us. We could have got screwed. I could have bought it. They could have claimed it. It even claimed in the ad, you know, the listing for this, the actual legal listing for this stated it had city water. It doesn't. You know, and that's really upsetting that they principle. It's a principle issue. You know, I despise when someone states something that's not true. I despise misrepresenting the square footage of the property or the house itself, because it's house and it had everything we needed. It had everything. You know, we still may end up doing it, but we did look at a 110-year-old farmhouse with a detached building we could have used as well on some land. But that house had black mold, and no, we couldn't do it. It was neat. It had potential, but man, I can't deal with it. I don't mind jacking up a floor and swapping out floor joists and woodwork and electrical, and I don't even mind, you know, having, you know, AC and heating and central air and heat put in. That's what we would do with the one we're putting an offer in on now. We'd have it put in right away, and we could eliminate the base burner or the base heaters or whatever you want to call them. Radiant heat, I guess they're called. It's an older house, 50s, but it's got radiators, and that would all come out. It would be fabulous. We'd get it done right away before we even moved in. But anyway, I don't want to ramble on that. I'm not trying to act big or important. It's an older house. I don't want anything new. I don't care about all that. It's nothing fancy, but it has everything. It has studio space for artwork. It has a place where I could do toy manufacturing, where I could hire people. It's got a 100-foot long counter space already built. It's got stairs already ready to go up to the rafters where you could build a second floor on this thing. It's high and dry. So anyway, it just everything, nothing ever, even when you think everything's going to go great, there's always some stumbling block. We've been looking for over a year trying to find something with the values, home prices, mortgage prices going up and stuff. It's finally at a point where we feel it's probably where we're not going to be underwater in 6 months if the value drops, you know, and we've got a little room where we can at least hold a little bit of cards instead of the buyer holding all the cards or the seller holding all the cards. As a buyer, a few months ago, the sellers were the only ones holding the cards. Now you got a little leeway because people are backing off because of the mortgage rates going up. But our bank was hopefully that it's a clear, fair rate the way it looks, especially with the openly published rates. It's below those. So anyway, RD Sales, how are you doing this evening? Thank you as well. Happy New Year to everyone. I had a discussion on last year, quite a few of them. I don't want to call out another person's name. I almost catch myself going to call it a name, but I don't like to do that. I don't want announcing, hey, you support me or we talk, in case some hater goes after them or something. But the conversation was, about last year they were down so much percentage, and barely a step up from the year before that. Last year was a pariah. Last year was a fluke. The year before that was a fluke because of what's going on, a combined activity. When all of this stuff is finally done, things are going back to a normal state. I think things are going to turn around. I also think some collectibles fields may crash a little bit, like the high prices for graded, PCA and all that kind of stuff, or J. I'm totally mixing up my things here. The prices are going to drop on all the graded, on the $5,000 Marvel Universe 1 series, Black Panther, first edition trade cards, and all that crap's going to go away. Because the traditional markets will be more profitable, more secure for the massive amount of investors who bailed on the usual businesses that they would invest their money in, and now brokerage may back off on collectibles. Some of the fields prices will go down, and stuff like that is what I think will happen. But the sales in general are all going to go back up again, is what I would say, for online sales once the markets start to switch around and stuff like that happens. I do feel, though, that some of the comic books that were selling for these crazy prices only in the last 2 years, and before that they weren't, same with some of the action figures, they will be struggling, I think. Personal opinion. Not immediately within the year, maybe. Again, it depends on how the economy goes. If things just start to go back to normal and everything's fine and dandy, which I don't see, but it may not happen. But I really think that's what's going to happen. I really think the housing market will still continue to slip. So, and that's a good judge on how sales will be, because mortgage rates, when the mortgage rates goes up, that means the majority of people, at least half the country, are going to be paying more for something that they were, already have and they're stuck with. They can't just drop out of a mortgage and refinance and all that kind of crap. So that means less expendable income for half the country. So that's why I say I watch the housing market, not just because we're looking, but because it's a precursor to the possibility of another crash that could affect, resellers in general. Again, I don't just worry about my store. I'm not just worried about selling this or selling that. You gotta look at the big picture, because even if you're looking just only at eBay and you're not paying attention to what's happening off the platform and outside of the reselling world, you're missing where the economy's at. You're missing why someone would or wouldn't be wanting to buy your items. If they're hurting because mortgage rates are twice what they were a year ago, and they're paying, instead of $1,000, they're now paying $1,700 in mortgage payments because they have an adjustable rate. That would be the sad factor. That's just, again, my take on it. Read it how you want. Economists, certain ones would agree with that, some wouldn't, but that's my take, and I look into it. I take it at heart, because everything I do is based on the economy. Everything. Retail does the same thing. A brick and mortar, an international company, a U.S. national brand is going to be doing the same calculations. They've got economists probably working for them. They do projections every year, and they have to know where they're going, and they have to have a reason to determine, or a way to determine where they're going. Are they going to project an increase? Or are they going to project, because it's not just them projecting sales. They got to project, stock prices. They got to project, how much dividends are going to go to shareholders and stuff. So they've got to, and if you're wrong, people are going to lose faith in them and not want to invest the money. If every time you do a projection, you don't meet it, you're always going to be, underperforming every time. You're always going to be doing bad, and it's not good look. And then, anyway, I know I'm rambling, but that's my take on it. Hey, Joe, Jason Mart, how you doing? Good to see you as well. Kaylee Debs, welcome. Jim Lord, welcome in the house. The King. Well, good to have you in the live show there, King. Buster Bluth, how are you doing? It sounds like a cartoon comic book name. No offense whatsoever. It's like a cool, smooth name. Dace, how are you doing? Hey, Crystal, waltzing with Crystal. How are you doing this evening? Good to see you in. And right below it, Mr. Loftus. Hey, Jeff, hopefully you're doing well down there. Hopefully your business is flourishing. Floral flourishing. Antiquarian Bookman, how are you doing? I just sold a book the other day, an early Bible from like 1860. See the Lights, welcome, good evening. Nice play on words on the name there. Terry Larson, good evening. Hey, Mr. Lowe, how are you doing, Charles? Good to see you in the house as well. Before I wander around and start yapping some more, Patreon video is already uploaded. It'll be posted within 5 or 10 minutes of the show. I answered everything before I went to bed yesterday, so there are some that still came in overnight, and some questions from this morning and this afternoon, which I will get to tomorrow. I got to be on the road kind of early tomorrow to take care of. We got our kid a brand new car for. Anyway, long story short, I got to get the title finally showed up, and I want to go down when they open up at 8. So I'm going down to the title bureau tomorrow morning. I did see your call out on the good audio mic. I'm sorry I didn't call it out earlier, but I did see it. Just FYI, thank you very kindly. So I might get to everything late tomorrow night, but it'll probably be the next day, probably Saturday morning. I think. What is tomorrow? Friday? Yeah. In fact, I need to write something down now that I'm thinking about that. Sorry, let me write that down so I don't forget. Okay, sorry about that. Stephen Holton, how are you doing, Stephen? Good to see you in house as well. Familiar face. Marty, Jiminy Flippin', how are you doing, Marty? Hopefully, Marty, you're doing well. I know you were feeling better. I did catch a few minutes of one of your shows on the replay. I don't watch much anymore at all, vision-wise, and I've got a lot of stuff. We've been out on the road a lot looking at houses lately, and anyway, we'd like to get one right away. That's holding us back right this moment. I can't advance with a few things until I get more space. I'm not going to rent any more storage or anything in an office or anything else like that. I just want to have it all in one sitting. A big building, enough space. Anyway, storage-wise is getting to be an issue. Hang on, let me slow down. Hey, Dave, Midwest Picker, another YouTuber in the house. How you doing, Dave? Emporium, etc. Jim, how you doing? Howdy back at you. Tim White, TW Storm, welcome. Let me slide down here. Stardust Memories, welcome. Did you change your avatar, it looks like? I swear you had like a purple colored avatar. Howdy back at you, though. Wiggy Q, welcome. Good to see you back in house, too. I'm assuming it's a couple. I see your avatar, too. I always remember the avatar, sometimes it seems. Marty's I won't forget either, because it's his name. Vintage Huntress, how are you doing? Welcome. Smiley face back at you. Pudding's Postcards, welcome too. Lisa Durr, welcome. Sell Resell, how are you coping with the slow sales? To be honest with you, I hate to say this because I'll take hate because our sales are up. They're way up. Okay, so let me. I did a video the other day for Patreon, and I'm not going to go into all the details of the results for Patreon and my YouTube membership. And it was specifically on my results. We ran promoted listings for 24 straight days. One of the comments was, "Well, you were still doing end and sell similar." I did not end and sell similar at all for that whole 24 days that we did it. We ran like 15,000 end and sell similar right before it. Half of our store, whatever it was. And then I did not touch it. So just to clear the air there. We started it on the 25th of December. We ended and sold similar. I still ran sales and all that, and 8,000 listings. 20-some odd % of our store, whatever it was. I had 22,000 more listings like to compare them to. I turned it off earlier than I planned on the 29th of December. So it ran for 24 days, like a 15th, 16th of the entire year. We ran promoted listings on thousands of listings. When I turned it off on the 29th, after I turned it off, we had our best sales day of the entire month. Hand to God, that's exactly what happened. Again, I have unique items. I sell stuff where there's no real competitors to them, where there's only a handful of people that may want any item that I sell. It's not like a mass-produced where it might give you a bigger benefit. And that's, again, my take. I did 4%, double what the majority of people recommended me to do, the bare bones minimum of 2%. I still ran a 30% sales markdown on 28,000 listings, including all 8,000 of the promoted listings ones. Ever since I turned them all off and went back to my normal routine, my sales have been going up. We're 27% up overall since the 29th. Hand to God, that's the truth. That's the exact numbers that I'm giving you since I stopped doing promoted listings after we did promoted listings for those 24 days. I'm not saying promoted listings won't work for you, but we have I talked about this with other people. The video that I talked to Patreon and to my YouTube membership. I talked to people before I put out anything or talked about it openly about our results, because I wanted to see if people felt, that people that I know that have big quantity and mess around with stuff like tests like this too, where the thing is. It's down to what I'm selling as to why I feel it's not useful to me. I'm not saying it wouldn't be useful to you. We've used promoted listings even on Amazon and stuff, and we're very happy with the results. But I'm not selling flooded category items. I'm not selling items that even more than a couple would ever show up on eBay right alongside of mine. So there's no real massive competition for anything that I sell. And there's limited amount of buyers. Them pushing it or advertising it in something that's purely unrelated to what the item is that I'm selling doesn't do me any good. I got a lot of new impressions, but impressions don't equal sales. I don't pay attention to impressions. I don't pay attention to views. It doesn't mean anything. I don't even pay attention to watchers. I'm talking at all anymore these days. I don't pay attention to watchers unless I can send an offer to that watcher. It means nothing to me unless I can do something with that watcher. I don't worry about, I know if it's too high and you got a bunch of watchers, your price is too high, or if it's been up too long. I mean, I don't care. I'm just going to keep it. Just because 20 other people may think that the price is too high. I don't know how many times I've had a lot of watchers and it eventually did sell at the price I wanted to get out of it. You know, I turn down offers. There's a card that somebody wants right now, and he's made me like 7 offers. I've turned down every one. And he's made a couple of comments. Well, it's been up for 2 months. It's been up for 3 months. I don't care if it's been up for a year. It doesn't matter. It will eventually get me a better price, double what this guy is offering me for that item. I'm sure of it. I've had enough of these types of items. So, again, that's my take on it. There's other people have different opinions. I don't care what anybody else's opinion is. As long as it works for you, that's fine. I don't care. It's not going to affect what I do for my business. You know, listen to me, don't listen to me. Try it for yourself, for crying out loud. I've tried everything that eBay offers other than the advanced promoted listings, but I won't pay for a pay-per-click, so I'm never going to do that. No matter what site it is, I never will do a pay-per-click like that. It's not in me. I have a personal, it's cringy to me. I just can't do it. I can't do it. It's a personal thing. I'm sure people know exactly how I feel about stuff like that. Let me go back to your sales. We were thinking about getting into buttons, but after monitoring your sales, we are not confident. Button-wise, I probably average about $2,000 a month just in buttons. I don't list them all the time. This month, we may have listed 200 new button listings, to be honest with you. With holidays and all, I've backed off. And if I'm listing buttons 2 days a week, probably every week of the month, we've done $5,000 in buttons in a month. Just 1 month and just buttons. But I have very unique, a massive quantity, and I've got almost nothing into. Literally now I have nothing into most of them. We did buy some more, so I have some into those. But so I've got nothing into them other than the time it takes to list them. Again, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from selling them, but I've got about 2,000 invested into books. I can turn around if I ever get out of buttons. I can sell the books for probably $2,500 because they're all out of print and they were expensive when I bought them a few years ago. Again, $2,000 a month is what we're getting. That's a solid, true number on average on just buttons. I rotate what we sell. If I just wanted to list buttons, I could probably get a couple thousand button listings up in a month and probably go to the 8, 9, 10,000 mark, I would gather, just by sheer expanding out on scaling wise, scale out on, you know, what we're doing now, how many we're listing, and the average amount of sales. And I do that same figure or estimate on anything we sell. If you're gonna let me break that down just a little bit here. I split up, as I said. I don't list the same type of items. If you only start to list one type of item, the other categories, I've got 10,000 or more in some categories. Those categories would start to lose business if I only listed other items and not items in those categories as well. Whatever you're selling, if you want to keep relevant and keep your repeat customers coming back, you have to rotate every category you have constantly listing stuff, even if you list only 10 or 15 in this category, 10 or 15 in that category. So that's another thing you got to think about. I make 2,000 in buttons, 2,000 postcards, and 2,000 in toy, and on and on. It all adds up at the end of the month is the point. Sure, you could go and try and just sell one single specific item, but chances are you're going to be limited. Let's delve in just a little more on that before we go anywhere else in this. For buttons, there's only a handful of people that would want any button that I have, other than the Civil War and some of the militaries. The Civil War, I could probably have 100 people for in each individual button, the better scarce ones that we own. An average button, like a police button, I get around 1170, somewhere in that range, average on just the common coat buttons that are police. Average other person gets 3 to 8. But there may only be 1 or 2 people every 2 years that want that specific button. So again, there's limited amount of buyers for most of my items. And again, that's why I think that the promoted listings isn't going to help me. I'm too niche specialized to draw in, no matter what I would want to do, increase from promoted. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to increase sales or that I'm not increasing sales. That just means that me paying eBay to advertise to people who aren't in my niches is a waste. You know, that's my take on it. We sold more items that weren't through organic, not through the actual promoted link. You know, there's 2. You get an organic, and then you get the promoted, depending on it, and they may show one or the other. The vast majority of what sold of the items that were promoted weren't from a promoted listing, weren't from the promoted link, were from the organic link. So again, that proves to me that the promoted, for me, only me, I'm not saying it's going to do for you. I get accused of trying to scare people off, but this is me. I'm telling you what works for me. I can't say what works for everybody else, but I've done the test. I'm done with it. I'm not going to mess with promoted again. I'm 27% up, hand to God, right this darn second, since the 29th. We've raked in $1,700 more in sales, above and beyond what we had been doing since the 29th. And it's the 5th. And I haven't listed much because we took off for several days. So if I would have listed, I'd probably add, and that's take home, I would have probably been able to add 600, 700 more to that number. That's the real numbers. That's not fictitious, you know. So take it how you want, but that's my results. I am not slow right now. I'm happy. I'm very happy that I turned it off when I did. I can't say that's the deal, but it's surely me going back to ending and selling similar. A certain amount, rotating my whole store only once a month, no more than that, and probably around 45 days is what we're shooting for. Rotate my entire store every 45 days at the most, no longer than that. Keep the items up, and then constantly running the sales. The perceived value works better for me. I've proven it to myself. I've proven it scientifically with a baseline of 22,000 versus 8,000 promoted. I showed screenshots of me doing this. You could have saw the number if you're in Patreon stuff. I'm not throwing out some fantasy world. That's the truth. That's what literally happened when we did this. I think the end and sell similar is probably the best bet for me for the items that I sell. Keeps them fresh in the routine. For some of the categories that I sell, and since I have 10 or 12, 14,000 items in a specific category, if they're not refreshed, some of my repeat people will come back once a week, don't have time to look through all those listings, so they're missing some. So I think that's a good push for even the repeat business, because when I end and sell similar, I get the same people who constantly buy from me, buying those items that were just ended and relisted. Or sold similar, I should say, not relisted. So again, take it how you wish. Try it yourself. Don't take everybody else's word that it works every time because they say it works for them. I'm not saying it doesn't work for them, but it may not work for you. If you're selling cheaper items, I personally would say everybody who I know who does sell, more volume of cheaper items, it does work for them because they're more common items if they're cheaper items. They're selling more individual items, but they're still making less than us. So I don't see the need to do that. Again, I'm no offense to anybody who does, because they do work for people. It just doesn't work for me. And I'm not saying it wouldn't work for you. It just doesn't work for me. I just can't do promoted listings. I've ended the discussion in my mind to myself that, I did the right thing and tried it, because I wanted to give everybody, again, I would be hypocritical if I didn't try it at least. I just said I didn't do it. That's what I've been saying for 2 years now. And again, I'm glad I tested it. I know it doesn't work. I wished it did, because it would have been easier just to pay eBay to get the item sold a few percentage points instead of wasting all the time I'm wasting to do end and sell similar. But in the end, wasting the time is the only way I'm going to get the increase in constant, steady, decent sales. We just had $1,000 day on the 30th. Or was it the 30th? In the last 4 days, I had $1,000 day, and some right up there next to that too. I just did a video on it. So our sales skyrocketed from the 29th on, the evening. When I got off the show, last week's Thursday show, sales have been booming ever since. And that morning is the morning that I turned it off. I won't forget that for a while, because like the year before when they did the update and they killed us on, shoot, what day was that? I wrote it down. Maybe it was October 13th or the 7th or something, somewhere in that week there. And it took us like 20 days to get the sales back coming in. We had to start end and selling similar then because of the updates. They switched our categories over to the item-specific setup. So we were on the new setup versus the old way with those categories. So they changed the whole categories over. That's when they came in with the topographical and non-topographical and got rid of all the state and all the subcategories and postcards and all that area. I'm happy with my sales now, and it came in at a perfect time because we shelled out some money for a car, and we were going to be shelling out a big chunk of change on a house and all that stuff. But anyway, I'm happy with what's going on. I don't have a big day at this. Stephen PB. In fact, Stephen PB, $1,000 a day on eBay video. Those are all items that we sold at the prices stated in there, and that's typical. Just before the show, I sold a card that I showed in a video for $175. It was $195 shipped out the door. It's the highest price in the last year and a half of that card that I sold. There have been some higher sales. It's a Pillsbury. Chase A. Pillsbury. It was a business card by the founder of the Pillsbury Dough Company. So anyway, that just sold. High dollar value items are selling right now for us. $175 for a card I've got 50 cents or quarter into is pretty darn good in my book. I've got pending offers right now I need to handle as soon as the show's over. Offers to watchers, when I send them out, we've had 172 offers to watchers I could send out in the last like 20 hours. Quick, snap, boom, 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 constantly. And as I said, if you want to get those offers to watchers and be able to be accepted, send them out all day long. I have a browser open right now with that tab open with that option right there. So all I got to do is reload the page, and boom, I can start sending them out instant, anytime. It's open on 2 or 3, both towers, and at least 3 laptops right now, right this very second. So if I'm in a different spot or in a different building or whatever the case may be, I'm checking them. I check them from my phone if I'm on the road somewhere. Because if somebody else sends those people, those potential buyers, offers before you do, they only can get so many offers at a time. And if they hit the limit because they're road warriors when it comes to eBay and they're constantly looking and buying stuff, they may get constant amount of people hitting them up, and then the limit's done and you won't get your offer to watcher sent to those specific watchers. And that's the take on it. So I don't miss an opportunity. We do it constantly, probably 10 or 12 times a day at least, regardless. Not just me, but whoever. If somebody needs to know, they'll just text me, hey, you take this on this item number, or send me a screenshot or whatever. And then off we go. Or the wife will handle it, or one of the kids. End of story. So again, I'm very happy I turned it off when I did. I think that was I said 2 weeks into it, it feels like it's dragging my whole business down. Our sales went down. That is what happened too. Our sales went down like 13 or 14% when I turned on promoted. And in the 8,000 listings that we did promote, the sales and markdown sales went to almost nothing. So eBay cannibalized those 8,000 listings that were promoted, all the sales and markdown showing up in good key spots, so that they could push the promoted, is what it looked like. And on top of that, the organic listings that weren't being, that weren't a technical promoted listing, were the ones that were selling 2 to 1 versus the promoted listings. eBay, they got a lot of good data on the promoted, don't get me wrong, but the data was showing that I was right not to do it, and that the majority of the sales were still coming in from the organic listing and not the promoted listing. Man, I dug into it. I didn't want to be wrong, And I don't want to tell people that it's not working because of this or that unless I feel that that's truthfully and honestly the way why it didn't work for me. Again, I'm not saying it's not going to work for you. If you're a flooded category, video games, toys, NOS, household goods, clothing, chances are you got to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that at this point. As much as I hate promoted listings and as much as I hate the whole idea, I would have still done it because it would have saved me labor hours. It would have been easier. My life would have been much easier, and I wouldn't have had to end and sell similar if the promoted would work versus that. But you got to do both, and then when you do both, it kills the promoted and all kinds of stuff because the links aren't active anymore. It's got to restart, and then boom, it takes time, and so anyway, that's my take on that. I know that was a long, roundabout way of complaining and saying sales were good, but I wanted to put the whole spiel out there because that's literally what happened. There's no embellishment of everything I just stated at all. I swear to you, that's exactly what happened and how the sales have been going. 27% up as of 5 minutes before the show started. Just dinging in with sales. It's the best sales we've had since the 3rd or 4th of December. On a routine now, not just one day, but every day, some high value stuff, old stuff, constant, and it's so similar. I wished I would have just kept that up through Christmas, as we probably lost a few $1,000s, bare bones minimum. Maybe even $1,700, $1,800 a week we might have lost in sales boost for 24 days, for over 3 weeks. Again, I wouldn't be legit if I didn't try it out. I said I would do it for 4 full weeks. I couldn't do that anymore. I had enough. It just wasn't going anywhere. It deadened my store, and I was right. I'm not trying to say, hey, I'm always right, because I mess up too, but I just wished I wouldn't have tried it. I was hoping it worked because everybody said it's going to do this, it's going to do that. You got to have the buyers there. I'm in such narrowed down niches, even in postcards and other categories. I only list certain types of things anymore. I don't list anything cheaper. I don't do this. I'm very particular now on what we list. I can be. I'd rather just throw stuff up in lots and take $1 or $2 less and not have to ever worry about it again. It's just practical. Because then I'm selling a bunch instead of only making $2 or $3 on one listing. I got a lot of something and I'm making $2 or $3 per item in that lot, so I might be making $50. My time is better spent doing a lot than listing $6 and $8 items. It's just not practical. Let's pop on down here. Oh, Crystal, I'm glad that helps to explain that. Yeah, free shipping was something we did. I did it with clothing because you have to be competitive. You have to, if there's only a couple items just like yours, it's open. It's open game, I would say, almost, unless it's something that everybody knows. Other than that, most of what we sell, you're not going to find prices for. You're not going to be able to just say, hey, a free shipping I'm going to have to do or something. Most of the items that I sell have always been shipping, charged extra since day one. The old days of mail order catalogs and stuff. Like Mile High used to do those. Maybe they still do. But they'd send you a list and you'd order them and you'd always pay shipping. Always. Well, if you bought something from an antique store and you had it delivered, you always paid shipping. Before the internet, back in the old days, even when eBay started, it was always, they paid for shipping. And I've always just done it that way. I've never looked back, honestly, on that at all. I've never worried about it. If I lose a few sales, I lose a few sales. Because my whole model works together. I don't worry about it. As long as I'm selling a certain amount of items a day, I don't care. My dollar value that I'm looking at. I'm not looking at like quantity of items. I have to sell 50 items today. Who cares about the items? The amount of items isn't important. It's the dollar amount. Whatever you're selling. If it was $1,000 every day, I'd be very happy. I don't sell $1,000 every day, but we've had a lot of $1,000 days. There's a difference between claiming you do it all day and selling it regularly. Selling that's the 800 to 1,000 range days, and that's, again, you've got to work at it. We've been doing a lot more. I've slagged off with health and issues and pet issues and stuff, and now it's time to buckle back down. If we get the house, we'll probably have employee areas and all that kind of stuff again, and be able to advance once more into a much bigger setup is what we're hoping. Again, I'm not going to pay for storage. It's a business cost too, so part of it's a tax write-off, and on and on and on and on. The benefits you get from being self-employed are huge versus working for somebody else. I'm telling you straight out. Because, like, if you're running a business, some of your business expenses, if you're running it out of a home business, are considered income for you. So even if you're spending, you're using a quarter of your building, or a quarter of your living area is going to be expense for your business, a quarter of your utilities and all that kind of stuff. That's all income. That can all be declared as income legally by the federal government for loan purposes, for whatever purposes you want, because that's going to be used on whatever you're going if you're working out of your own place. So buying it and not renting facilities is always the best. In the long run, you'll come out so far ahead, it's not even funny. But again, you got to do the right thing. You got to report it. You want to report. You want to show that you're doing well to the bank. Not fictitiously, not made up BS. You want to be honest and truthful. If you're quoting a number, you want it to be the right number to the bank. Your banks can be your friends and can help you grow your business. I don't know how many people that are resellers that I know who have taken out small business loans, even the PayPal loans and stuff like that. It's far better to take them out from your local bank, which you have bank accounts with and have been banking with for years, because the rates will be cheaper. It won't be some loan shark style, high interest rate. They'll be reasonable. They might even be below the average percentage rate. Like our home loan would be below the vast majority of them, because we ranked in the top 20% on our credit score. So again, do the right thing. Get cash back on your cards, to use your charge cards to keep your credit score higher. I mean, these are all tricks of the trade, and you get discounts. You're saving off your fees if you're using, cash back cards from your bank, and get them from the same bank if they offer that, where your money's held, and hold them in several different banks so you have leverage. So anyway, I know that's a little bit out of reselling, but that all has to do with business and reselling in general to me. And I probably wasted and yapped so much that I didn't get too many questions like I said I would. Hang on just a second here. Janone V, I don't know if you knew, but eBay isn't hiding solds anymore, so you can see what everyone sells. That's fine. My solds are there too. We stumbled on it last week when looking at buttons. After seeing the solds, we may not get out from it altogether. Very disheartening. I've always quoted how much we sell on buttons. $2,000 an average a month in buttons is what we sell. Again, I haven't listed very much. You can probably look yourself. There's probably just a few hundred buttons listed in the last 30 days because of the holidays. So, and we have more than one account, so obviously, and we sell on multiple platforms. So when people say, hey, you're probably doing this or you're probably doing that, you're only looking at one site, I would say as well too. I have no problem with our sales. I'm happy with the sales. Again, I don't look at, eBay's like 40% or so of our business. So I look at a P&L statement for my total revenue for the month. Everything is funneled down to the end. I look at the P&L and it just has a total number. That's what I look at. That's all that I care. Yeah, I think they stopped it a long time ago from what I understand too. I'm watching something. I got a notification offer from the seller, but when I click on it, it shows the original price. So how do I accept offer? I'd have to see that one to see what you're talking about. Let me slide them down. Edward St. Ledger. This is different, but on eBay I'm watching. Oh, that's the same one I just got to. Hey, Leland, how are you doing? Hopefully you two are doing well, you and Cindy. Yeah, you still can't see what the item's sold for is the only thing with them unhiding them, because if they're, most of ours are best offers, and I get complaints if I say it's sold for this and it doesn't show that on the listing. I'm not going to sit there and waste the time taking a screenshot on my phone. You can believe it or not, but those are the prices they sold at when I quote a price. I know some resellers do they snap a screenshot and just pop it at the bottom. I'm not going to waste all that time. I'm more into the business side of it anyway. Yeah, and I'll also say too, there's things that we sold that don't show up on our sold listing. So for whatever anybody says, there's several items that I can guarantee you sold that aren't on my sold listing. Now, it's not something I did in a video, so it's not like that. But so there may still be something to the zero quantity out. The whole option on zero quantity out was if you're selling wholesale and items like that and stuff that you have replenishables that your competitors won't know, quantities and all that crap. That was supposed to be why it was done. It was never done to hide your listings from like a video or some crap like that. Anyway. Hey, Matt Jake, how you two doing? Hopefully you're doing well this evening. Christina Bason, I watched your video on how you send postcards. We've started selling greeting cards. eBay doesn't provide the standard envelope for cards. I don't use the standard envelope rate, and I personally don't recommend using it because it's not an official postal scan. I could care less about the value of it. The point is that you can get a negative feedback if it doesn't show delivered. All the person would have to say is they didn't get it, and they can leave you a negative feedback. So that's the reason I would never do it. If somebody claims they didn't get it and it's tracked, like through real tracking, eBay will remove that feedback because once it says delivered, I'm free and clear on stuff like that. So that's the reason. I'm not going to do, I don't care. Every day I log into eBay on any account, we've got a couple eBay accounts, it always pops up with seller use eBay's new envelope rate and save money and all this stuff. Well, they're not going to save your feedback is why I wouldn't use it. That's the only reason I wouldn't use it. I don't care if it's $20 and they're going to refund me if the item gets lost or whatever. I want the feedback. Where are we at? Where are we at? I just lost where I'm at. My feed just bounced. Yeah, the offer is only valid for a certain length of time. Kelly's stating that in there. Message the seller if they are accepting offers. Oh, let's pop on down. Yeah, I can tell you without a doubt, every price I've quoted is the price it's sold at. I have no reason to make it up because I show some of those in private groups straight from my personal account. So I would be stupid to say one thing on one site and something else somewhere else. But I know there's a lot of people who do that. But yeah, Terra Peak still doesn't show certain items on there. I can tell you right now as well, too. I can tell you there are some items that do not show up on Terra Peak. Whether it's a canceled, some of the cancels they've gotten rid of, some sold items depending on how they were listed in the type, like some of the multi items I found don't always show up right. There's some that what was the other one that we just saw? There was something we sold twice. I can't remember what it was, but I want to say it had something to do with the Rose Bowl parade. I can't remember. It doesn't matter, I guess. Busto, I've shipped to Nigeria with no problems. I blocked off all the outer countries, truthfully, just because there's so few. It's not worth the risk for one sale a year and all that kind of stuff. Cindy, how are you doing, Cindy? The new eBay international shipping is just a replacement of the old global shipping. You can still use the global shipping on there. There's still the option, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I have it still turned on if it's still there. I just looked at that and copied my page, and I'm sure it's still on there. I haven't removed it, and I haven't seen anything that said the old way isn't still there. That's for some countries that I don't ship directly to as well, but I haven't blocked them. Most countries are blocked for any of that kind of stuff, just because I don't want to mess with it. Hopefully that answers that one, Buster Bluth. Hang on just a second. Let me see if my feed can go without. Had someone 2 days ago trying to get me to use that shipping for a postcard. I can't say it's going to be bad for you personally, but I don't do the envelope rate just because of the feedback issue. If it doesn't get delivered or there's no delivery tracking, those feedback will stick to your account because you can't prove they were ever delivered. The buyer can't go down to the post office with that envelope rate tracking for $1 or whatever it is and get it tracked to the post office. The only way to track that is through eBay. It catches those barcodes that are printed on it as it goes through the system, and in some secondary app, third-party thing, picks up on those and relays them back to eBay. If it doesn't go through the scanners, or for some reason it's not scanned because it's an envelope or missed, it's not going to show as delivered on eBay, is the point of that. And for me, the feedback is so much more important, truthfully. I'd rather not sell something or not mess with something if there was some bad buyer, or there was a chance it wasn't going to get delivered. That's just me. Your take, however you want to do it. Oh yeah, I haven't even said. Yeah, if you're enjoying the conversation, please slam that thumbs up. I know I had almost 210 in, and we got 97 thumbs up right now. I know it's not that many in now, but anyway, let's pop on down here. Dace. Hey Bob, hang on. I see Mr. Hale in house. How you doing, Bob? Hopefully you're doing well. Felicia Paravocchio, welcome, welcome. Back to Dace. Stupid question. Does eBay pay the sales tax to you or to the government agency? I sell in the Netherlands and another platform. I'm afraid of the work and sales tax. When eBay collects it, they pay it to the state that it goes to. You don't have to do anything with it. They take out a final value fee based on the final value fee rate of the category the item's sold in. So you're going to pay a fee on the sales tax. I'm okay with that. Because if you've had to deal, I've had to report and do calculations and constantly talk to the accountant. I just asked for numbers from the last 6 months. All I got to do is do sales numbers, though. I don't have to pay. I don't have to do anything else. And it's very easy to do a 6-month sales number anyway. But so if you've done sales taxes for one and you had to do them for 50 states, I would just rather take a little fee out and be done with it and not have to deal with it. So I'm okay. I'd rather not pay it, of course, the fee, but I can deal with it. Let's put it that way. I'm not 100% okay with it, but I'll deal with it. Because it saves me from having to have the accountant do it for us and worrying about back and forth and taking the money and sending the money out. And if somebody forgets or slips or whatever, it's all done. It's all wrapped up and I'm done with it. Same with Amazon. I'm fine. However they want to, just so I don't have to deal with it. Thanks, Wiggy Q. Appreciate that as well. Yeah, we've done free shipping. I've done free shipping tests, and it's never worked for us. So I'm fine with it. Sales didn't go through the roof. If you've got unique items, it just depends on having the right person on. If you're selling cheaper items, $10 items, $8 items, $6 items, all that free shipping throwing in is just going to go ahead and take more money out of your pocket as far as I'm personally concerned. Again, it depends on what you sell, how you sell it, what works for you. I don't do free shipping on anything anymore. I don't look back. I don't have any problems. I like tracking on it. A lot of people would do the envelope rate. I won't do the envelope rate again. I'm not going to do try to make a little money and sacrifice a risk to my account. That's just me. I never saw sales to the roof. I've been told the exact same thing with free shipping. I was told the exact same thing would happen by multiple people by doing promoted listings, and that wasn't true either. So to me, the free listing or the free shipping doesn't go sales to the roof because you got to have somebody on who wants those items. It doesn't matter if it's free shipping or charge shipping. If there isn't a specific buyer that's looking at that item, it's meaningless. The shipping, whether it's free or not, is meaningless. So as long as the items are good, then they want it, and they're a collector. They're not just buying some $6 or $8 item. They're buying a collectible, old collectible or whatever, in a category they've been collecting in for years. It doesn't matter. 100 other sellers will tell you the same thing who sell what I do. At least volume and stuff like that. But anyway. Let's see here. Steve Wiles. I often have customers unable to request an invoice for adjusting postage. The request button just does not show up for them. Sometimes it's a drop down, I think, on their side. I think you have to send them from the drop down menu. But all I do is just say, hey, email me if they have a question. Usually somebody will reach out to me and ask, do you combine shipping? And then I just say, hey, just reach out when you're done. And I always, these days, tell them, too, that if for some reason it forces you to buy, I will combine and refund any extra shipping charges at the end. Just tell me when you're done, and we'll take care of it from there. That's all I tell them. And everybody, I've never had a problem with that at all. The shopping cart does not work the way it would work in another one again, so be careful with the shopping cart. If a buyer thinks they're going to get your offer to them accepted when they close out on that, or when they cash out or bank out on the cart, they don't. They get the list price. The accepting an offer is a different process than checking out through the shopping cart. Just FYI, I've dealt with it before. eBay's told me the same thing, and it's not to do that. It could easily do that. You could just add another function with a radio button that says accept best offers and check out. It wouldn't be that hard. There's other sites that have that option. Pudding's postcard. I do free shipping for eBay standard envelope and charge for everything else. Well, again, it depends on what you're doing. There's a lot of people who use the standard envelope and only had 1 or 2 missing, but it's only 1 or 2 bad feedbacks is the reason I worry about it. I don't do anything to risk the feedback issue. That's, again, just me. You want to do it differently, it's all on you. I can only tell you why I do it and how we do it. Emporium, etc. I sell China fairly. I sell stuff to China quite often. I don't have any issues shipping to China. I sold something to Taiwan, which was through one of the global shipping the other day. The global shipping is new. Even the regular global shipping they used to have is technically still there. Now that I think about it, it is still there. We sold 2 Mandarin T cards with owls on them for $50 for the 2 of them. And they went to Taiwan, and eBay combined them into one shipping for them. I was out of the loop on that one, so I know they finally fixed that. I know they had been talking about it forever, that they would be able to combine to make it better for you. So in the past, if someone bought 2 different items from you at the same time, right at the same time, they couldn't check them out together. They would only be checked out 2 separate purchases. And technically, it would be hard for you to combine them because of the way it's reported through global shipping. So you couldn't even do anything with the global shipping. And you still can't, but at least they combine them now. And it only included 1 shipping cost to their global shipping center in Chicago for us, which I was really surprised to see. It'd been a long time since I've had the old way of global shipping where it collects VAT. Now, I'm not talking about the new international because that's mostly what I use these days. But this is one country that I don't technically ship to other than through global shipping. I have some countries that I'll ship to only through the global shipping, and then a whole bunch that I blocked out that I won't ship to at all in any way, shape, or form. You know, if somebody tries to bypass, go around your policies for those type of shipping things, if you call eBay, they will go ahead and allow you to go ahead and cancel those if you find out later on after the fact that they're trying to get you to ship it to a country that they don't ship to. They can't circumvent the system to get you to ship it somewhere you don't want to ship to. I guess that's the biggest point. When they order multiples from the same listing, it makes the shipping estimate I put in the listing to contact me before ordering so I can make a new listing. Well, no, if they're just buying them straight from you, it's not going to, all you do is combine them at the end, or you refund the difference. That's all I do. If they're buying from me and it's, let's say, charging first class international, it's like $13 or $14 per item, and they bought 5 items, and they paid in cash, because sometimes they don't even know they're buying from the same person. I like this item, and I'm buying it, and they're still doing a massive search, and they're not in my store yet. They see another item, oh, I'll buy that one, and not even realize it's me at all, even till the end. I just go ahead and refund the difference, and off I go. I keep any fees that were paid that I had to pay for each one of those purchases, and I keep that difference. So I'm not hit with the fees itself, whatever the fee. You can look at your payments tab in the hub, and you can look at the individual fees collected for each item right there if you want. Just type in or cut and paste the item number into there, and then you can search for that, and it'll give you the fee breakdown on that specific item. You can keep any charges after the refund, and anyway, that's how I do those anyway. Not sure if it's vintage. Hey, how you doing this evening? Good to see you. It's always best if they contact you ahead of time, but I don't make a separate listing hardly ever. Unless something's not working, I won't spend the time to create a separate listing, and then add them all together, because then if you're not putting enough photos in there, they could claim, it didn't show the back of it because you just threw something together. So I'm always cautious on doing that. I've done it a few times in modern day times, only with people I've dealt with for, a long time. And I only say that because you could run into some issues otherwise with that. So anyway. Yeah, there's a 3-inch tape dispenser I have on there too. I know some people like the 3-inch. I have a 3-inch around here somewhere too, but I usually just use the 2-inch because they fit in a spot on the shelf, and the 3-inch is too wide to fit in that spot, and otherwise you have to walk around the corner. And I'm lazy sometimes, but not all the time. I love the tabletop dispensers though, I have to tell you. Yeah, some people on Social Security, if you sell over a certain amount, you could get hurt on stuff like that. But just, I mean, report it all and be honest with it either way. You can call the Social Security Administration and they'll give you a set amount. My mom's in her 80s and she's retired, and she was working at a nursing home for a while, and she could only make so much, so she could only work so many days to even get it, even though she's earned the Social Security. My father passed, so she was able to get that, and they just gave her a whole hassle with it. Where are we at here? Fartsack Jack, how are you doing this evening? Yeah, I'm not sure on the Social Security numbers. Let me see here. The only thing putting postcards on like flat rate shipping, if the price goes up drastically, you're making less money. You're charging less than it would be. And what if it costs $4.50, or some of the items like a postcard might cost $5 across the country to one area and only $3.40 or so to another one. So I always keep that. I calculated shipping is what I do for everything. Hang on, I'm trying to. My feed's all over. Did I miss something? Hang on, I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. Not sure if it's vintage or not. I've been shared links with him physically bad mouthing me and making some really rude and nasty comments from other people. I didn't ask for it. When I posted something else about some stuff, I was inundated with stuff like that. And there was some comments that I personally saw myself on my own feed that I wanted to block him on another occasion. Hate me or not for it, but we've taken a lot of hate. I've had death threats, and real recently someone was posting fake BS about us online, and that's what led to. I'm not gonna. If somebody's gonna badmouth me, I'm just not gonna deal with them. I don't care if it's on my show or not. I don't care if somebody has a different opinion. But when you're mocking me as a person, that has nothing to do with my business recommendations or my business thought or anything else like that. When you're making comments about stuff that relates to my wife, I don't find that funny. I don't find it cute. I don't find it appropriate. I don't talk about other people on other channels like other people seem to think it's great to do. I don't make up stories about somebody. I don't slander other people. I don't do any defamation of character, which was done on us, and specifically naming my wife for starting a GoFundMe for us because we're supposedly hurting or something like that. That it's offensive to me. It's offensive when stuff like that happens. It's offensive after having death threats, people wishing my kids were dead just because I posted a video. And that's literally what's happened. And I've come to the end of taking people making nasty comments about us off of my platform. If you don't like me, fine, I don't care. But you going around and bad mouthing me and my wife on other places is a totally different story. We know who did it. I just don't. No one wants to. Everybody shut up, and I don't know if they've deleted it on there or not. But block them or not. That's take it how you want. But when somebody mocks me and says some really nasty, offensive things about us, I'm done. I'm done. I don't care if you disagree with my opinions or what I say. That has nothing to do with it, because I did see, I think Kelly was the one who made a comment about that on there, which I was off before I saw it. I don't care if somebody disagrees with me, but when you literally mock me for how I look, talk, or rambling or anything else like that, that's an attack on my personal character, not my business. And I don't take that very well. I don't like someone mocking or making fun of my wife or making claims that are clearly untrue just so they can keep some more subscribers and lie to their own base. I don't lie to anybody. I'm not making any secret things or anything else like that. So I'm done with the people picking and mocking and stuff. I don't have time to waste on that. I know where we're going. I know financially how we're doing. I know I'm not having any concern. I don't know what else to say. And if people were going to believe what somebody says in that aspect of it, I don't watch my channel. I could care less. If you would honestly believe marketing people who basically push their services and fees and memberships, I have a membership, but I charge very minimal. I don't make any promises. It's content, it's videos talking about what I do, and that's it. I'm not here to push a course. I'm not here to push accountants or services that I collect commissions on. I've got links to them just because people ask me all the time. I don't even advertise my own items because my clientele aren't people wanting to learn how to resell. My clientele are narrowed niche items. That's why I say there's only a limited amount of people that buy my items that are into those types of items. It's collectors and stuff. You know, a lot of stuff we do, I don't even have to list the items anymore because I can sell them directly to a person. You know, the whole point is saving fees. I'd rather pay PayPal, again, why I like PayPal. I'd rather pay the 3.45% to PayPal than eBay's fees when I sell something. And I have that option. I don't list new 45s online either, if you noticed, because I sell the high dollar ones directly to overseas buyers. Northern Soul collectors in England. I've talked, if you're in my Patreon, I know I've talked about that in there. So there's certain items I don't even have to list anymore. So anyway, he's a nice guy at heart, always looking to crack a joke with you or help figure out eBay out. Wasn't tough love from what I was shared. It was in chats on other people's channels saying some really things that were intentionally attacks on my character. Attacks on how I speak and blinking, and I've heard all those things from a ton of other people. You know, and I don't attack anybody else, and I don't expect somebody else to do it to me. You know, I've got a thick skin. I just don't have to hear it. I get nasty comments for me saying that promoted listings doesn't work for me. I get vile comments. I don't even want to go into some of the stuff I see. You know, that's what happens. I delete them and I move on. If he wants to email me through my email here on this platform and explain some of the comments that he has to know what was said. You know, it sure sounds like his voice, and some of the textual stuff said in there were surely tied to him, unless somebody mocks some screenshots from multiple different people, you know, or actual recorded clips and stuff like that from a year plus ago. But anyway, people send me stuff. I took action on what I saw. You know, if somebody's trying to scam me and get the guy banned, why would they do that? You know, if he wants to address the issues that were said, I'm a big person. I can forgive and move on. But, you know, I don't block anybody with just a whim, you know. But a show before, 2 shows before, I don't think it was on the show before, but 2 shows before, there was some comments made that were, in my opinion, insulting to me that I would have never thought to say to somebody else on their own channel. It'd be like going into your house and calling your wife an idiot or ugly or something. Just something I wouldn't do. You know, it was close to that level in my opinion. I don't go for that. I'm sorry. You know, I cherish my wife and my family, and when somebody, again, not directly related to him, but that's what brought all that on. That's why I was inundated with comments from people, because I was offering, I still am, a $50 plus a reseller gift bag from us of a bunch of cool stuff for someone to send me a screenshot of that post, the complete post with the poster's name. But anyway, and a lot of people sent me a lot of stuff right over that. It's still posted right this minute if you want to see why I, again, got a lot of stuff. People send me stuff all the time of a bunch of other resellers and YouTubers cracking. Most of the time I could care less. But when they insult and say certain things, it's beyond a business thing. It's more like an insult, an intentional insult. I don't take those too well. If someone else is fine with people mocking you and doing character attacks, that's your call. But it's not, this is my channel. I don't cuss and haven't cussed. I don't do stuff like that. I don't go and call out other channels. I don't sure as heck go to another channel and call out somebody else at all either. So, and I don't even like to do that in private either, because that's just not me. Let's see here. See, again, opinions. Why would I ban you? Not sure if it's vintage. I don't. Again, I only ban people when something really is nasty has been said. I wish I could show it, but I don't have permission to share. But anyway, I'm not here to call out somebody else. You know, and I despise when my name's brought into something for some BS, totally fantasy world posts. I mean, it's annoying. Again, when some other person's doing it just to make themselves look better. And I just don't like that. Let's see here. Steve Wiles, I get waist stiff cardboard for my mail sleeves and cut to size. Yeah, for us, storage-wise, I've got a spot. I order the same kind of boxes or flat square cardboard and just go with that. It's just easier. I always can get it, and I get it in quantity, it's dirt cheap. And plus, I charge for shipping, so I'm not really out. Yeah, Kelly's talking about amount of orders. I don't care. The amount of orders means nothing at all. It's the how much profit are you making? I could sell 1,000 items and make a quarter a piece on those items and have to spend hours shipping them out. So who cares about the quantity? People got to get past how many items you're selling. Look at the dollar value itself. That's all that matters. The dollar value. You know, who cares? Again, I could sell one item and make $10,000 if it's the right item. I don't want to be selling $10,001 items, though, or $10,005 or $6 items. If I wanted or needed to sell a whole bunch more stuff, I could cut my prices down in a third, just all over the board, and then still offer a little bit of a sale on it and sell a whole mess of items. But I'm getting so much less for the items. Why would why would I need to do that? I don't need to do that. The same reason I don't do promotions on my channel or tell you to get this service or do that for commissions or affiliate links. 'Cause I don't. That's not me. I don't care. I don't need that stuff anyway. Let's see here. Yeah, there's no way to get around from ending and selling similar. You will always have to do that as far as I am concerned, unless they change the setup of the system. No other way around it. You know, I stopped it from the 5th to the 29th. And as soon as I rolled out, our sales have been flying. Let's see here. Hang on, I'm trying to get down. My feet's still messed up. Hey, Stunlaw One, how you doing? Do you think it's important to only use poly bags with the suffocation warnings or 2.5 mil minimum? Is that mandatory for eBay worldwide? The bags that I use, they're all taped up. There's no way on earth they're going to get them out of that to touch the item without cutting the bag opened. And then there's just no way to get one over your head even if you wanted to. There are some that are printed, but for the most part, I don't have those printed specialty bags. They're just going out. They're going out to an adult buyer with a charge card, and the whole works as well too. Most bags, like a grocery store bag, there's no warning on our grocery store bags at all. You know, I know some of them, if you're sending an item to a child, you have to have that on it. If it's going to a child or for a child, it's a sold item to a minor or something else like that. I will say one thing I've learned from trying to do, I would never personally recommend doing your whole store all at once. Because I've been talking to 2 or 3 other people on Patreon, and my opinion as well as theirs is come to the same conclusion that eBay can tell what you're doing and ghost those. If you do a whole massive one, they know what you're doing. You're trying to circumvent them holding them back and all this other stuff. My sales went down when I did massive quantities of sales and end and sell similar all at the same time. Because I was trying to flip our store. Again, there's 2 other people that were doing this with me at the same time. We were trying to flip our store every 10 days to flip because I can afford it. I've got enough listings, 100,000. I still have an anchor store. And I was going to do my entire store 3 times a month. But my sales started to slow down when we started doing it. And the only thing we could all had the same results is that they were hiding them. So I do a certain amount. I basically, if I'm going to do a 3-day sale or a 2-day sale, I'll do, 1% or 1/30th of my store each day. But I'll do them every 2 or 3 days. So when my sales and markdown ends, I'll go ahead and I'll do end and sell similar of either 2,000 or 3,000 items. So it's not flooding the system. It's not bogging it down. It's not like flagging something in there. But I can tell you from mine, well, I almost said a name, but from mine and a couple other people's tests that we all stopped doing it all at the same time. My personal opinion again, but that's the results I had. It wasn't good. It's just like listing constantly. If you do it all at once, you get a boost and then it kind of dies off. So we've come to the conclusion, and again, looking at our numbers, that if I do 1/30th of my store equivalent, again, depending on when I'm doing doing sales and markdown, it works great. So again, sometimes over the weekend I do sales and markdown now for 3 days, so I don't have to touch it on the weekend. So I'll do 3,000 listings, which is 1/30th of what I have listed. I got roughly 30,000. I do 1,000 listings worth a day, every other day or every 3 days, and that's what I do with our store. And it seems to work the best. We tried that whole flipping at once. I've done all that stuff. I've tried all that. I've got little mark sheets and tally sheets. We write down the numbers before we list and after. We usually get rid of all zero quantity items so there's no mix-ups. Very careful on adding in, when we do sales and markdowns, the item number of items we don't want marked down. You can cut and paste and drop in 100 listings at a time to remove them from your sales and markdown at the same time. It depends on the items that you're selling on Amazon, I would say, and the size of the bags that you're using for the suffocation notices. I took their online safety assurance class, I don't know, 2 years ago or whatever it was, when they were offering the pesticide class for free, and that's the one I took at the same time too. I took both of those because there was a service. The bags with the printed suffocation, it's just a little blue printing on the side, on either side of the bag. They're like 0.025, a quarter of a penny more, something really something along that line. That's only for the 1 mil bags. So if you get the thicker bags, it's even more. But the thinner bags are safer because they're easier to rip. So if somebody does get stuck or something, it's far easier to be safer. At least that's my take on it. Let's see here. Yeah, the only thing I'd say too on doing the end and sell similar, it's going to take time for all those listings to show back up too. Keep that in mind. If you start a sale, the first sale that we start, we usually do like a sales and markdown. We run it for 10,000 listings. It takes like 15 minutes for that to process. And we can't do another sales and markdown until that one's finished because they overlap. And even when you try to select, don't pull them from another one, it never seems to work quite right. We've always had glitches and stuff. And that's again why sometimes when you're doing those, you're doing end and sell similar and running some of those sales, you have a brand new copy business policy created by eBay when it has a glitch out. It will create one when it doesn't know what to do with your policies. So if you go look at your policies and you've had some weirdo, like you're doing end and sell similar, and it comes back, it says one listing did not process due to server, whatever it says. Sometimes that listing right there, it'll be one of the ones that it'll create a brand new business policy for, usually shipping, but not always. Let's see here. Dean Funderburk, how are you doing? Susan Sanders, welcome. Hey, Craig Landshark Picker, another YouTuber in house. How you doing, Craig? Yeah, putting postcards is actually saying a similar thing there, not doing the entire store all at once. I have dismal results if we do it all at once. It floods the system and they can tell. You can tell any of that stuff. eBay can instantly tell, and they can have the whole thing automized, automation on that, where they slowly pop them out there. So I stopped doing that. We did that for, I think the other two people stopped about the same time I did, but I did it for like 6 straight weeks. We did the entire store, and then we were actually doing the entire store 3 times a month. That was a lot of work, but I wanted to see what would happen. And sure enough, the more we did it, the less results we got immediately. It was like they were ghosting some of them right off the bat, just because they knew we were trying to game the system. I mean, I could see at a point where they won't have a bulk option, or they'd be picking on it, because if they wanted to, they could do just like editing, where that you could do 2,000 listings at a time. They're not putting that in there intentionally, is my personal opinion, because it would be far too easy for me to just do one quick 2,000 every other day and it'd be done. It would just take a couple minutes. You know, no wasting 10 or 15 minutes to do 1,000 listings or whatever it takes. So, you know, that's my take on it. Yeah, I've talked way too long tonight. I think we're going to have to end it here. Just a second here. Let me slide back over. Hang on just a second. We're going to have to end it off here. I know I'm way past what I usually talk, but I'm just sitting here rambling and didn't pay attention at the time. Again, as soon as the show's over, I'll get a Patreon video up, and then I've got a video to upload for YouTube membership, which should be up tonight. I have responded to everything as of last night on both of those, so I will get to them, not tomorrow. Again, I got to run by a tax and title office, but I will get them on Saturday. I'm here in the office on Saturday, so I do appreciate everybody coming on. Those in Patreon, if you wait just a few minutes, head on over to Patreon. You'll be able to watch the video too. It's a two-part one. There's some screens and some very helpful research information that should help cut down some time and improve your game out in the wild. So we're going to let it go at that. I do appreciate everybody for coming on, and I do thank you very kindly.